Yeah. So I'm in the middle of playing with something. So give me a second. There's an old technique that we did in school where you take like a paint, rubbing alcohol, and you photocopy something out. And when you photocopy it out, and then you place, I've ripped off a piece of what I photocopied. It's just an old letter sheet from a printing case, but you lay it down on your surface, and then you take some rubbing alcohol, and now I put some on a piece of paper towel, and so I rub it on the back of it, and it transfers what's printed onto it onto the surface that you have your photocopy face down on. Now, this is all done out, so that's all played out. But I'm wondering if the texture that I got out of that was because I used paper towel. So I'm going to try to use a sponge for a second. Yeah, look at that. It's craft time with Christopher. And it looks like it's making the sponge react. So maybe this is the wrong option. But let's see if it pushes out here. I think that what I'm actually doing is just destabilizing the sponge. So I'm pushing it out, but it's doing it nice and flat and smooth. And let's lift it off, and it transferred the image. Really light, really rough, really loosey. Now the whole sponge is destabilizing. So I'm just going to throw that out before it eats my hand and tear off this piece that's used off of here. Throw that out too. Keeping it clean, cats. So anyways, this is me playing in the studio as I usually am doing. But I'm going to see if I can dry this faster. And then let's get on with the show. Let's get on with the show. We've got a really interesting show for you today. We've got Beatles out here. So I'm just going to dry this surface, and then you can see the result. They're not just the prettiest thing you've ever seen, huh? So, anyhow, yeah. So I'm just tearing off pieces and doing that. And the whole point, again, is maybe I can find in here, as I lay this on this cardstock, doesn't grossly influence the cardstock too much unless you really saturate it. But that little spot that I just did, you don't see it bleeding through to really mar up the surface. But yeah. So anyways, this page and these two pieces of paper. Here's one. Now this is from another one page that I did, and I just used the bottom half of the same page. This is just ballpoint pen drawings. And then here's a drawing I did of this lady, and I stamped her up. A little bit of stamping, went over the lines again with a little bit of black ink. And then these are the drawings that I used in order to do today's page, which is this. So, okay, there we go. Happy, joy. So the little images that I pre-assembled on the different pieces of heavy grade card paper, I just put those together. I scan them, and then I cut them out onto different layers that I can overlay, and there's our result. There's what comes to at the end. So because I'm doing this in X amount of layers, it allows me to be able to do some fun things like hiding text underneath the dancing figures, that the dancing figures on a layer that's over top of the word balloon there, to be able to do fantastically fun little things like stamping a piece of paper, scanning that in. Oh, we got a bunch of people coming in. Jim says, went back to listen to your Heartcasters interview. Heartcasters, I like that. Interesting to hear your backstory. Hey, cool beans. That's really nice of you, Jim. Yeah, it's Chris's background is he's cuckoo for coconuts. Philip Chandler. Hey, Philip, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, I had to start late today because I was getting my hot water heater fixed. So I couldn't really schedule to be here, confirm that I was going to be here earlier. But as soon as he came in, fixed it lickety split, and here we go. Heartcasters, come on, Jim, you gotta like Heartcasters, buddy, huh? From here, huh? It's because Gary was on last night. That's why you're laying it down with the heart. Yeah, hot water is important. That's why my statement today at the end of the blurb at the bottom of this is, hey Canada, you know it's cold, but if you got a working furnace and hot water heater, it ain't so bad. Anyhow, so this is the images that I put together, drawing individually on cardstock, trying different little effects and playing with them, like brushing over some watercolor there and outlining in pencil crayon and little ink overlay here and modulated flipped surface that I painted over top of and stamping on this one. And so all of these different things is what I put together. I'm showing you stuff that I don't have the camera on. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me try it again. So here is the different things that I drew, all the different little panels and bits for today's one-page or yesterday's one-page comic. Some stamping over top of this figure that I then put some black lines back over. Spattering effect onto this piece of paper that I painted over top of. Here's the ink wash. Here's a watercolor with pencil crayon around it. This is just straight white marker, little white pencil, and black pen. So, statement of the day. Just a little bit north. Just a smidgen. What was that? I love that graphic. That would make a great print. Which graphic? Are you talking about the page itself or one of the aspects of the page? So all those elements together is how I was able to put together today's page. And the thing I was saying is that the fun thing about scanning this stuff and entering in all these different elements under different layers is that it lets me do fun things like putting the text underneath some of the imagery. I really monkeying around with the text like I did over here for Do Your Own Thing. I'm really figuring out some things in Photoshop at this point that's letting me really push the boundaries of how I put together a single page. It's one thing to draw a single page. Here's some examples of other single pages that I've done for another project. And I'll show you those. So these are straight drawn single pages. Oops, I left that up, but I'm so sorry. But thank you very much for your interest there. What you had up a few minutes ago. Yeah, I never even thought about t-shirts at this point. I'm sorry. Damn, you're good. Wow. Oh, wow. Thanks, Jim. That's nice of you. So this is just a piece of cardstock, like a heavy grade cardstock. I got a few pages here that you buy at any office supply or art supply store. Now this is a red piece that I've got some green pieces of masking tape I've stuck down arbitrarily on the page, but at the same time within confines of panels to give a little bit of modulation to the value, the principal value, which is the red. You throw in a little bit of green, a little bit of complementary color, and it just gives a little bit of depth punch in there. And then I drew statically over top of it with white. Looks like a light black pencil crayon. I have to remind myself what the heck I'm doing at any given moment. White paint, a little bit of fun spattering in here. Of course, in order to do fun spattering, you kind of got to do this with your paper, right? In order to make sure another piece here so that you can keep that within the confines of a panel. But doing this with just a piece of paper, it works, but at the same time, I'm developing, I think at this point, and learning things like on today's panel that I just showed you, that now I'm learning to take that farther. Now I'm learning that I can cut these different panels out into different layers, move them around on an image. I'm really chasing that landscape format now because I want to do something with whatever projects I'm putting out. Sorry, Chris is clearly trying not to sneeze. So I'll probably retool this a little bit, but you can draw on a traditional flat piece of paper, but then it's what you take it with, it's what you take it and do afterwards. So here are some of the other ones that I did in this same run of doodles. I look at T-Rexes when I draw dinosaur, or when I draw dragons. I look at dinosaur, the conception of dinosaur images or dinosaur skulls, and go from there. So these are pages from another project, and as it stands right now, I do different things with these hands. And this is about a year ago. So, but the idea is there, and then of course, now that I'm figuring out some of the Photoshop stuff, this is stamped letters. You put ink on little metal letters and stamp them onto there, right? With, let me see, little stamp pads, right? Ink them up, stamp it on, ink it up, stamp it on, do all the different letters. And, which is a lot of fun, but the explosion itself, now that I'm getting a better handle on Photoshop, I think I can do more things with that, and really punch that out. So, it's fun to try to draw just traditionally and how a page comes together. But I think in the last couple pages that I've done, I'm really exploring, at least I feel like I am, I'm really exploring the opportunities that are presented from just taking a traditional drawing and layering that up. So if it expedites the process so much, like I've tried to imply a sense of depth in this image, but with Photoshop, I can literally cut along the frame here and over his shoulder, and then cut around this corner and behind the chairs, and do different modulation effects with each of those 3 layers that could even go farther to push some sort of substantive change to the pen. Yeah, see, now I'm looking at what I'm going to do with this page right now. Deep breaths, Christopher, slow down. So, there's just so many, like the mask on here, the cops riot gear, that's again something else that we can take, cut it here, maybe do some sort of thing that mutes and blurs the explosion in the background and keeps this crisp in the foreground. So I'm trying to think of different ways that I can try to push and really monkey around with how traditional images can get ripped apart and put together in different ways. And I'm doing it in this format of one-page comics. So again, it stands. So this is the imagery that I put together for the page that we've put out today. So is it this, Phil? Are you still there? Is it this that you think should be a t-shirt? The old lady with stamps on her? Stamped up old lady, old bird? Never thought about that. Anyhow, but I had a lot of fun drawing these old people that just don't give a crap. I love it. My eyes are up there, So, yeah, but I'll do multiple images for multiple pages on the same pieces of whatnot. So it's hard to say this piece is for that, or this work is for that comic page, and this is for that comic page, and etc. What I was trying a couple minutes ago, for those that joined late, is taking rubbing alcohol, and I photocopied just an old letter sheet from a print tray, for print letters for an old traditional printing machine, and which is where I get a lot of these little metal letter sets from. So I photocopied the original sheet, which is about 100 and some odd years old, 120 years old, I think it is. Not crazy? It's not just something that it's the color that it is from fading. But this is for old letter sets. Anyhow, keep that as a memory of when I used to have all the printing equipment. So, I ripped a piece of this off, and then I put the rubbing alcohol on the back, and I transferred some of that photocopy down onto this surface, so that to try to see what kind of modulative effects I could get, or if I could just straight transfer the image itself. So, what's Phil say? No, hold on. I meant what you had up at the start of the video, do your own thing. So the page itself, hold on a second. You mean this? You like this thing? As a t-shirt or as a print? Oh, print. I thought she said t-shirt. Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not? Or I don't know. Yeah, these just I could print it out for you if you want one. I never think about that sort of stuff. So just I just keep plugging away. Oh, that's very nice of you, Phil. I just keep plugging away on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and at some point my wife says, "All right, how much you got?" You know, you got a lot of things done, Christopher. Right now, this in my file of the one-page comics that I've been doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, we got 18 from the last 2 weeks. So that's been a lot of fun. And onwards and upwards. So anyways, this is the effect that I got from that rubbing alcohol transfer. And so I have a couple of different things like this in my studio. This is full of rubbing alcohol. I have another one with a spritzer on it for bleach. I have another one with a spritzer on it for water, just to give me opportunities of different diffusers that are going to take ink and photocopier, things that I'm going to put down on a surface and well, destabilize them really, and let you try different things and push the play of what you're going to do on that. This is it's like a spirit gum remover, so it's got like an alcohol in it, and I'll put some of that on a cloth and splats it down. So there's a number of different little things that I'm trying along the way, like the stamping. So I stamped these images, which are from this, just a little block stamp that you can find at a dollar store, supply store, whatever. And so I just, put some white ink on that and went to town. From one of these little stamp pads. You can get these suckers in different colors now, so that's kind of nice. Different companies, different colors. So I stamped that onto a white piece of paper, and then I put that into my scanner. I scanned it out, and so now I have this functionally in black and in white, and that's what I used in order to do this effect in Photoshop. So it's not just manipulating it on. So this effect that's right here, and let me pull out the imagery here, and you'll see there's the dancers. Okay, so you can see the stamps that are peeking through now, and that's what's left over, after I've cleaned it up, because it sits over top of the panels. And so that's the panel page, and then I added this in to cut that line at the bottom so it looks like it's intentional that I didn't finish his feet. And then the dancers I matted together. I'm going to take a stamp out on a layer as I overlapped the scanned images and cut out around them so I could put them in wherever I wanted them. And then it's text and everything else. Oh, this the do your own thing is its own logo like that. So it's kind of fun. I'm figuring out all these different elements on all these different layers, and I could totally get why people like working in Photoshop as much as I do, but I'm kind of approaching it, and maybe my shorthand will get better, that I'll do less of that manipulation in the traditional and more manipulation in the digital. But I'm kind of approaching it from a fusion of the two at this point. So, you got to have fun, folks. But it's just, one thing after another, and seeing what you're throwing something at the fan blades and seeing what you get out of it. So that's, that's where I'm at now. I've got a great one-page comic suggestion for today. That's it's a really old one from that list of things that I wrote down the suggestions, but I, for some reason, didn't write down the people that suggested it. And this is going back a few months now, 6 months, 8 months. I'm finally getting back to these after doing 3 books. So it's You Deserve This. You deserve this. That's today's suggestion. I got it on a note. There it is. Yeah, I wrote it down on this note. You deserve this. So that's what we're going to give a shot at today. Now I wanted to try something else that's a little bit wackadoo, maybe, but and that is to use a toothbrush and make some smushy shapes with the paintbrush, or with paint. So one of these travel toothbrushes, who says these are useless? So I got a couple pieces of cardstock here. I've got a gray and a black one. So I just thought, before I would really get too much into the drawing part of it, this is in those other panels that I showed a moment ago, these other pages that I showed a moment ago, in order to get what I've got here with these green value punches inside of that red surface, this is it. That's your magic tool, is masking tape. So I'll just tear pieces off, and I'll show you here. So I'll just tear off some and rip it in half, just monkey with the shape, and I'll really make sure it's firmly down, and not being too precious about the wherefore and why of applying it. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because it's just an under the surface modulation. And I do the same kind of thing with the larger drawings and paintings that I've done, which, I have one hanging over on the wall in the studio here that's 4 feet by 6. And I'll do the same sort of thing to the surface, but I'll do it with, like sheets of card, and I'll use like a matte medium or a gel medium to affix those to the surface. And then I'll run the same coat of, in this context of this piece that I'm talking about, in blue. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do one of these where I'll use my phone so I can move around and show some of the things I'm talking about at some point. But today is at the PC. So to get some of this business in our images, that's it. I just tape some stuff down, and I work over the surface with that down. So I don't know if people have considered that as maybe something to try or not, but this is something I started doing. And I've expressed this before. My reasoning behind it was, I thought for some reason, when I look at, because I grew up impoverished, and so because I grew up with a single parent, low income family in the system here in Canada, I didn't have anything. And so the things that I could get together, like when I could get nice paper, I kind of didn't want to use it, because it was, look at it. Look at that nice, cool, like I'd look at it as, this is cool paper. I really like this. I really want to do something good. And then immediately that hesitation kicks in to make me not do anything at all. It's just a psychosomatic thing, right? I don't want to wreck this paper with a bad drawing because I've only got so much of it. And I realized at some point, I figured out that, well, you got to let that go. You have to let it go. So I did. And I figured that the way to do that was to throw stuff at it, throw stuff on it, and not be overly concerned about what I, was doing with it. Really, there's no point in being precious. There's no point in being when you're overthinking the whole thing and you're holding yourself up from doing anything because you don't want to interfere with the thing, the surface of it, or the preciousness that you're assigning to something in such a contrived way, you're never going to get any projects done. If you've got nice paper that you don't want to use because you're afraid that it's going to keep you from, you're going to make a mistake and it's going to keep you from working now because you're so concerned about the mistake. Hey, I'll buy you some more paper. I'm not a rich man by any means, but I would rather see. Sorry, I'm just leaning over here, putting something down. I'm putting it down, son. I would sooner rather see somebody making something than not. So I'm excited to see what you're doing. I'm excited to see what anybody else has inside them to express. And, let's explore this avenue together. So if you've got that situation happening to you that you're worried about getting to work, let me know. Reach out to me. Send me a DM or whatever it is, and let's get you sorted out. Because life's too short. And being a person who did that, I don't want anybody else to do that. So I'm playing with this surface with this travel toothbrush, making a little bit of a mess of myself, as is the usual. But what I'm doing is that I'm putting some of this tooth onto the surface. That white finger. So I've just put some. This is some white gesso that I put onto this, and it's fun because it's kind of like you can do all these different things that a toothbrush gives you the facility to do, and that's some of this brushwork here and this really gritty, grainy brushwork we can do. Right? Really work that paint that's still in there. Work it in, and but allow some of that flicking that you've put down onto that, because none of this is the thing I always say. None of this matters. I'm gonna draw something on it, that surface, anyways, in whatever way I'm gonna draw it. And so what I've actually put down here doesn't matter. And yes, I have done fingerprints all over a surface just to do fingerprints, and then because you end up not seeing a lot of it anyways. Like, how much do you really realize that the surface is modulated into something after you've covered it with so much stuff? There's a page I did. I've shown this before. Give me a second here. I'll pull it up for you. It's done in Post-its. There it is. So I'll switch the camera for a sec. So this is done. This surface modulation has different colored Post-its and pieces of tape. So there's orange Post-its, some green tape, and it looks like some yellow Post-its are in there as well. And so that's just the sort of stuff that you throw down and then you utilize. So okay, the preciousness of the paper is gone. Let's get to it. And so then you start doing whatever it is that you're going to do for your image. And so that's what I'm talking. And then you can use those base colors. You can take those little strange values you're going to get out of different colors of Post-its. And like here's a random yellow piece of Post-it. There's lots of pieces of whatnot kicking around my studio. That when you put this down, and it's just because this is the paper the paper part of it without the sticky business. So I'll put some paint down right here, and then I'm gonna lay this sucker on top, and then just, adhere it down to the surface there. Take out the pet, let it sort of sit half in and half out. Now, if I had gel medium's a little bit better for this because it's translucent. And because it has that translucence to it, it lets us not have this different devaluation of the surface value of it. It just stays its yellow. But we've hit the whole bottom and we're hitting the edges. So, and then as it dries, I'll pull away from the amount of marks that I've got on it. Take some of that tooth out, right? And I'm just throwing it arbitrarily. So, and then again, this is something that when I let it sit, this monkeying around with the surface as I'm doing it, and that's about enough, I think. But I'm going to let that sit and do its thing. Well, I don't have to. I have my hairdryer now, if you guys don't mind the noise. And so I have a piece of parchment paper underneath you can't even see what I'm doing. I'm so sorry. Okay. So this is me putting down, I've put paint down. This was a master stroke of Christopher not paying attention. Okay. So I put paint down onto the surface with the toothbrush, laid down a piece of Post-it over top, and then I've put the brush strokes on the top so that I make sure that the edge is all affixed. Okay. And then try to keep some of that value peeking through. And then I've just taken whatever teeth I can get more out of this toothbrush onto the surface, some of this gesso that's still in here, and a little more monkeying around. And that's good to go. So at this point, I will take my hair dryer for a second and make sure that this little splatter value that's down here is going to dry for me. Just give me a sec. Sorry, I'm cleaning my fingers off. Yeah, it's a dangerous thing, me in a studio. I get covered in whatever if I'm not careful. Okay, sorry for the noise for a sec. But having a hair dryer allows you to really play with the surface faster because I can dry out, that surface area so that I can really get to work on it. Picking it up a notch. Okay. And it tends to keep the paper flat too. Another way to keep your paper flat is whatever you're working on, gesso the back of it. Just a coat of gesso on the back, and then when you flip it over and you do whatever you're doing on the surface of it, it'll tend to hold the shape of the paper because of the fact that you've got moisture on the back and moisture on the front. Another way you can do it is to paint the back with water. Just a nice wide flat brush and just paint the back with water like so, and then flip it over and throw your gesso down on that. So, and then what this is going to allow us now is, because we've done this monkeying around is where we can now pursue this and these little bits that are peeking through our image. If I was to do it as a clear coat instead of the white, it would, fix far more evenly so that the gray would really be the prominent base value, but that doesn't matter. We'll explore that anyways. So because I've got the gesso left over, why don't I use that, as my as my material today. So, hi Dee Dee. Love mixed media. Love it. I'm so glad to hear that. That's I'm kind of a weird one out here in how I go about doing whatever I'm doing. I feel like a lot of times, because most of the people that I know tend to stick traditional with one medium or another, and well, clearly I can't do that. So it's nice when I come across other people that like mixed media too. So I've got my water as far away as possible from me. It might be for a reason, because Christopher's clumsy. So I've grabbed a random image on the computer. I have a little. Here's some behind the scenes secrets. There was an interesting talk last night on the Artcasters, for anybody that got to see it, about using source imagery and how some people say they don't do that. I've just arbitrarily picked up, just typed cool grandmas, and just for whatever. And so I got a crazy image, and so that's the source imagery. I keep it over there to try to keep it clean. But that's what I'm using today. So now sometimes you'll see, like for yesterday's, you get the impression there's always piles and piles of everything around me, and it's a constant battle to constantly sort myself out all the time. So this is drawn first in ballpoint, okay, and then the modulation happens over top, and then I have to go back and pull some of those black lines back up again. This is again starting to draw it in ballpoint and then filling in the white afterwards. So that's this is, but what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start the other way around, I think, and paint the light in first, and then come back and find the dark values and the dark shapes in afterwards. So I'm going to paint, if it's going to work, it might be not strong enough a value for me to be able to see it. So we'll see. Give me 2 seconds. I'm probably going to go back to my word and do it the other way in just 2 minutes, because I'll get frustrated. But that's part of the learning process. Whatever. We figure it out as we go, right? So yeah, so I've got, I think I can add another color in here. Anybody got a color preference for me to use? Anybody got something they'd like the alternate color to be other than the yellow? How about a purple, Chris? Oh, okay. Okay, so here's a lavender ink that I have, and let's do this. Let's just throw lavender ink at it. It's a little Schaefer. Lavender. Okay. Go and shake my Schaefer. Okay, so this is a Winsor Newton Professional Watercolor Sable that I'm using. I love this brush. I know that sounds weird, but I want to go and buy 3 more of it, because when you find a thing that works for you, this is a number 2. Stick with it. I'm also a guy who keeps whatever brushes around me. So you know what? I'm going to let that dry. No, we'll use this because we've already made all this monkey business on it. I tend to be a guy that keeps all the old brushes, even though they're battered and worn, because I can use those for different things. And there's so much that we can get out of different things with different tools that we might not initially consider. All right, so here's some lavender ink in the lid. I'm using the lid of it because honestly, if I use the whole jar, there's a good chance that I'm going to spill it on the floor. And know thyself. So I'm just throwing marks. I do this a lot with my fingers, which is again where I'm talking about how I'm very messy when I'm in the studio. At least I'm messy. The studio is clean. If because I'm neurotic about that, but my hands are a horror show of blending, and I don't know if anybody else does that, and if you do, please let me know. I don't want to be alone out here in crazy town. Also, I've put another reminder up of anybody that has a one-page idea for a comic, 1 or 2 sentences. Feel free to shoot it at me. The last one that I got from Jim Luan was Depeche Mode Ping Pong Tantrum, which is what led to our page at the start of the week. So that was fun, and it's the challenge I find is when somebody gives you, well, so there's a guy, right, and he's got fire powers, and so he lives on the street where, it's a water sprinkler company, and that's not what I'm asking for. And I'm also not asking for scripts. Just throw a couple random ideas at me and let's go. My brush is split and I'm about to cry. I'm going to cry over my split brush. But we'll use you later, bucko. Who are you? Well, you're a salty sailor. Why don't you come join us? Yep, that's right. Talking to my brush like that. This is a number 3 Artist Loft. This is an acrylic brush. So, all right. Yeah, you're doing the job. So this is just laying down this flat static image on the modulated surface. And so some of these fun things that have happened in putting together this stuff now comes through. And I do this all the time, and I love doing this sort of thing. And when I get asked to come into schools and to do this stuff and to teach this and storytelling to kids, this is the stuff that old Uncle Chris here weirds the kids out with. And yeah, I've horribly scarred all manner of children at this point with more actually I'm probably more of a horror show for their teachers, because make a mess, kids. I can't tell you how many teachers I've had remind their students as I'm talking, and we're making sure to be respectful of the people around them, that we don't flick them with paint. I have that happen a lot. Yeah, you gotta have fun. It's all fun. It's all just pursuing a natural affinity as living, breathing organisms to communicate with others, and finding ways to speak. This is just another form of talking. So yeah, that's about that. That's my pithy evaluation on the whole "why is Chris so messy?" So when I do that, when I do monkey with that surface like that, you can use a cloth or paper towel or something like that to do it. But it's when I put down the ink, in this case, when I put the ink down, it comes down in its deep, solid value because I'm not using water here. And so what happens when I'm doing this smudging action with my finger, so there's the initial hit of the value. So I can pull it on the surface, or when I've placed it here, I can tamp it down and diminish that value. So that's the sort of stuff that we have some control of when we approach it this way, right? And allow ourselves that. So you can imagine if CSIS here in Canada or the FBI in the United States ever needs to look for me, all I have to do is find my fingerprints, is find one of my drawings, because I'm sure there's plenty of them in there. But I'm allowing these values to sit through. And so as I come in, and I'll show you in a moment, I'm just throwing down some part of the image of the composition. And as you know, as I come through next with a secondary value that I'm putting down, and in this case, it's going to be the white. What it's going to do is be really tempting to just sort of belt into those open spaces. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave some of these yellows coming through, because the whole point of monkeying with this surface is to give ourselves opportunities for those little characteristics, these little deviations that we've made from the norm, to come through. And so that's what I'm pursuing anyways. And I try to work quick, because I've always got 16 things on the go. And one of the principal reasons that I try to work fast is because I was a single dad for a while, and before I met my stunning better half, and when you've got and then we were joint parents, but they're still wait till the kids are asleep thing. So you only have so long to get stuff done, because you got to get up and do work tomorrow. And now it's because I got to get back to doing stuff for other people. So I'm pursuing the form as set out. I'm putting the glasses in now, playing with some of these different tonal values from just the same reservoir of ink, you know, and leaving out those spaces for the white or for not white. Now I find that even when I'm working with the wet ink, I'll go in with color every now and or water every now and then, and just give a little more juice back to the brush. I don't know what happened that my other brush split like that. Yeah, that's gonna eat. I'm going to Michael's tonight. Can't have that. I can't have split brush. Not that one, because that is the one, like I was saying earlier, that I've really been enjoying of late. Yeah, you saw that. Yeah, I lick my finger and I'll push the ink a little bit around here. Now, again, this is where we can get funky with this as well, and frisculate these values by the values in the ink by punching it with a little spritz of bleach, and I'll show some of that in a second or two here. But you know, there you go, a little bit of water on the ink, so you'll see the color is going to come on lighter now in the places that I put it in the moment. So, but that gray, the parts of the paper that don't have gesso down on them, is what you're seeing that gray punch right through on. And then you're seeing these brush marks now underneath this flat image that's laid over top. That's the stuff I like. That's the stuff that makes me very, very happy. And then the other considerations that I'll take is it's not always what you're drawing. Sometimes it's what you're not. And what I mean by that is I'll leave out aspects of the image. Now, in the source image that I have, Grandma here has flowers in her hair. Okay, well, let's find something fun to do with that, but not in this with the purple. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment. But in the interim, I'm going to leave the purple out of those areas, because I want to do something else with that. I want to try to define that section with something different. And I think I'll use some orange and yellow, so I can pull a little more attention to the yellow that's inside of here, out of the surface, by playing with it in the flowers. Yeah? Huh? Huh? So, Rough and Loose. Rough and Loose. So, name of my first album. It's not. Name my first two dogs? No. So, yeah, I'm coming in and throwing down some of these shapes and these lines in order to get this clearly defined image and surface in here. All right. So that's feeling like fun in the sun. A little more water on that brush. Pull some of this broad hits in here. Spread it around. Okay, so I'm pretty good with what I put down here. And, oh, sorry. I'm tricky to keep track of. That's cool. Thank you very much, Dee Dee. That's very nice of you. All right, so now that I've got this roughed in here with the ink, and let me pull a little more shape to the form, and I'm not drawing in all of these different details for the body and like I said earlier, the flowers. Really load this up because I want to leave that alone for a moment, because I can come in with something else and smack that in there with it. Not just stay stuck to the entire thing coming together with just the ink. See this fun business that we have coming through here? I don't know if that's picking up, but you could get that little friscillation of value because of that paint, that gesso that we put underneath there. The ink is going to go through and really find its tooth inside that paper, but it's also going to push itself around a little bit for where the gesso is. So thanks very much. Thanks very much there, Crazy Surface. That's something that it gave us because it's nice and cuddly. All right, so there's the same thing here, and let's get into some of the what's next. And I think I'm going to chase around the outside of what's going to be our flower shapes here. Just so throw some purple up in that. I got to keep track of not showing off all of my bad habits while I'm working. Like, licking my thumb or whatever when it's covered in whatever it is. I gotta, remind myself not to be so sloppy. All right, so I'm coming down with this white gesso to see if it gives me a little bit more something right now that I can cut back into some of these gray marks that we put in and give a little more direction to some of that portrait. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'm pretty good with where we put our lines down here. Let's, where'd I put it? There it is. Okay. So let me do this. I'm going to clean my brush for a sec. Sorry. I always feel like I gotta just fly along here so that I'm not making folks wait. All right, this is an inexpensive marker that, just generic whatnot marker. And if I start coming in here with crazy generic marker, and I'll show you something fun in a sec, and I start putting in some of these shapes for these flower forms that are going to go in here. not being overly concerned about all of its details, because I'm going to make a mess about this in just about 2 seconds. So I'm just putting some of these value hits inside of here and up inside of here as well, because we want to find some form of balance into our image as we go through it. There's I'll explore the space and put these hits of this value throughout. It's no different than when we're painting. And as you come in with a color, as you're painting, don't just paint. Well, I'm going to paint a red dog here in the corner. Don't just paint the red dog. And it depends. Maybe this is one of my wackadoo things, but hit some of another spot in the image with some red just to do it. And the reason that I say that is that it sort of shows you your value balance as it moves through the image itself. All right, so here's some of this silliness, and pursue some of that, the space that I left loose there. Right? Now let's just move around. Not much. That's okay. So this is the other thing I was talking about. That over there so I don't break it. Where are you, Spritzy? There we are. Oh, Spritzy McGoo. So this is bleach. And so I'm going to come in with the bleach. And I'm going to spray over this section here. And then I'm going to let it sit for a quick hot minute, a quick hot second. And then I'm going to tamp it out. And because I've just done this little spritzer like that of it, watch immediately how these bubbles start forming everywhere. Oh, that's so fun. And then I want to try to remove whatever bleach I can, absorb that with the cloth. And you can see it pushes the value around, fades it all out like that. So again, it really doesn't matter, how much meat and potatoes we're putting into that initial mark making. And it's even taking some of the gray out of this cardstock on the surface here, which is super cool. And I really likes that. So just a little bit more on this side, give it a second to do its business. And then I'm going to take it out, right? And then rubbing that, try to get it to pull up some of that. Yeah, I like that. That makes me very happy. Very, very happy. And where did I put that? There you are. What are you doing over there? So now I'm going to come in with this gesso and start where this bleach and this ink is down, and start cutting in some of these shapes of the flower. And so you can see that there's still some destabilization in the surface of the marker here with the bleach in it, so that some of that value is moving with me right now, and yeah, that's great. It gives me the ability to do some blending. It gives me the ability to push the form, to push the values a little bit. But it's just about playing, right? Not being overly concerned about raised marks on our surface either, because who knows what that's going to afford us. I think that when you look at at the image from top down, you might not necessarily recognize that these are little globs of paint. You might just see it as the effect for what it is, and then it lets us do something really fun and get some nice little values and blends into our surface. And unless you watch the process, I think that what's fun about this is that people kind of don't know how we did that, until I gave it away. I've got no problem with talking to people anywhere and everywhere about how to go about some of these things. I've never done a tutorial on anybody else's YouTube thing. I've done it just here, but when I go into schools, or even when I do these here, I've got no problem whatsoever giving away the secrets of the universe. Because, hey, I want you to do this too. We got to keep traditional creativity alive. Because at the end of the day, not everybody can afford the big computers. Not everybody can afford, all that business where, oh, technology. Well, not everybody has the accommodation for technology. So, all right. So there's some of that fun information as we've got in there now. And yeah, that makes me happy. I missed something here. Oh, that's very nice. Aditi's giving me clappy hands. Clappy hands. Clap hands. Yeah. So, this is one of those things where it's the sort of stuff that when I'll do an image like this, and I'll do different mixed media, whatnot, on different surfaces, different pieces of paper, like I did for the last page, I'll then scan these and put them together and construct them into that narrative that I was trying to pursue in the first place. So that's why you see the different drawings and the different images of people dancing, having fun, doing their own thing. And I'll try the different things on different pieces of paper in order to explore that narrative in whatever fun way I see fit. And then it becomes compositing those into, a new composition that takes all of those little illustrative means and lays them out on the same flat surface piece of paper, but we'll have things that'll be interacting on that we might not have had otherwise. We'll have different approaches to illustrating those characters than maybe we would have got if we had just stayed on one single flat uniform image. And so that's what I'm referring to, where this is fun. It's fun to draw a flat page. Well, to draw a page on a flat piece of paper. And that's fun. And that's, really where I've approached things from before. But to then be able to do this now, where I've got this effect on here, I've tried different effects on here, and then another approach yet again on here, and to then mat those all together in Photoshop. I think that's the way I have found my comfort in how I'm working now. And I hope that that's showing result. And that, by God, people like it. So here's just some fun business of putting in some of these shapes, these structures in this space that we didn't apply ink to before, so that's coming through, and that's punching into some shapes into our space that, again, don't have to be overly defined. And as this surface is coming, as drying more and as flattened out more with its values, as we put some of these white punches in here, I think they're more identifiably standing off of the backgrounds now. But, it's the same playing with, I didn't hit this with any bleach down here. That's fine. Let's dry brush over it. It's the same thing as we're doing up above. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about unifying aspects of your image, is that if you've got action happening up in here, make sure you have some level of balance of that same action in other parts of whatever your image is. And in this case, it's in the form down below. So that's what I'm doing now. And allowing some of these strokes to stand tall here and allow that sort of different applications of the paint to come in, because that's the sort of textures, that's the sort of fun, I think, that carries through into the finished image. And this is a kind of a, because this is a cheap and ganky marker, that pigment immediately just feeds right into the white as you just brush over it once and that pigment starts picking up. So that's kind of fun. So my brain immediately figures out, well, how can we use that? So clearly in the composition, it's about here that my details, my efforts have run out. And what I mean by that is I didn't define the flower shapes all the way back into here. I didn't define everything all the way over to here, but there's a consistency inside this frame of reference. So, you know, as you start to define that more and more over time, as you're moving on to the next thing. At this point, by the way, I'm going off script. Use your reference for putting together your thing, but then throw it away. Let your doodads turn off and or put aside whatever it is that you're working from, because you know all that stuff inside your noggin already about how this works, about how faces work, and how, you know, now this is just for me, and this might go contrary to some of the stuff the guys were saying last night about there's your reference and you put it together and use that. But I use my reference at the start and then get rid of it. And the reason that I do that is so that it's me. It's whatever it is that I'm doing, it's coming from me. And what I mean by that is I'm making sure that I'm not just copying a photograph, because I copy whatever reference from wherever I find it. And if that reference is a photograph that, let's say, somebody else is doing their best representative image of the photograph, now it just looks like we're just, both of us are clearly working from the same source. So I'm grabbing a couple pencil crayons. So now we're going to start to monkey around. So this is where you can start putting in these punches. Or at least this is where I start putting in some of these little punches to push some of these shapes farther and to put in. And because we've got these little hits from the bleach, these little prescribed shapes in there, I'll actually work in and around some of those and to enhance them a little bit, because that's the whole point of it, right? That's the whole point of something fun like this, is that it comes through. Now, again, I don't have the presumption to in any way, shape, or form think that I'm anything fancy when it comes to this. I'm just showing you the stuff that I'll do as I'm working. It helps for me to define the images that I put together, help to define the people, the characters, the buildings, the objects, the flowers, whatever it is. I don't by any means think that there's a right or a wrong way to do this. This is just some of the things that I do myself to make these things happen. So I hope this helps for anybody that's watching. So I'm further pushing some of this form, playing with it around. Different pressures on the pencils gives us different marks. You can still see some of the bleach hits will pop through, and just having a lot of fun with that. Now I've left the center part of this alone for a few minutes, largely because making sure everything's all nice and dry and cozy, but also because, we're going to go at it full throttle in 2 seconds. So this is another thing I tend to not do. Don't outline the whole object. And what I mean by don't outline the whole object is your mind, my mind, everybody's mind tends to fill in those blanks. And what helps us to see something as more realistic is the fact that there are aspects of it that colors that blend outside. Everything isn't outlined in black. Everything isn't clearly defined in the world environment that we live in. So in the matrix. So don't be too concerned about all that jazz. I am just carrying this value through the composition, which can be very discordant at this point in time, because it just at this point looks chunky. But because we know how a color wheel works, I found one. So, right, when you're looking at your complementaries to your violets are your greens. And so we get a little bit of these greens punching through. But then when you've got your orange, here you are, and his push is against those blues. We haven't got into that yet, but you clearly know where I'm going at this point, is that my oranges are going to bring in some different values and shapes into the image, and then I'm going to go at it in areas with the blues as well. And so that is going to push a little more depth and a little more dimensionality to it, I guess, is where my brain's trying to go. So I'm using the soft orange, really soft application in areas to simulate, rather than using like a straight flush tone or something like that. I'm building up my value. So why am I drawing cigar smoking grandma today? I don't know. I never know what I'm doing half the time. It's all about the exploration of making the marks and making the images, and then putting those together. I missed something. Something popped up. Have I thought about making Skillshare classes? What are those? I'm sorry. Hey, Gary, how you doing, buddy? No, I haven't thought about Skillshare classes. I thought Skillshare was just something where people go on to talk about their talk a lot shows, the ones like here we're going to talk about socialism, and hey, we're going to talk about. You would think that my brain would make the clear association that Skillshare would have something to do with passing on skill sets. But no, I haven't. Do you do Skillshare classes, Dee Dee? Is that something that is in your wheelhouse? It's a site classes, and you get paid to make them. Well, hello. I don't know that idea, I'll tell you that. Yeah, that's maybe something I should consider. But, I kind of give all that away on my YouTube here. I have watched some, but I have not made any. Yeah, I'll look it up. Wonder what could I do Skillshare classes for? Comics? The one-page comics? This chaos? So it's just throwing down some marks and some planes of value through here. Just playing with some of the shapes of the face. We have classes for everything. I love that. Everything. Yeah, I'll have to look that up to you. Hey, maybe there's some classes I want to take on. I want to learn some technique. love. Anyways, Enrique does them. Enrique, that's Phil's friend. Or, well, I'm sure it's a lot of people's friends, but I think that's the guy that Phil does his. I think it's a podcast they're doing. I don't know. It's usually too late for me. I go to sleep. I'll take one to see how it works. Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. I'll definitely look one up. See, I thought it was like, I think Skillshare is where I had considered, if it's the thing I'm thinking about, I heard that Werner Herzog was going to talk about film on one of his programs where he teaches you how to make a movie. And so I was kind of keen to that because I love Werner Herzog's everything. You know, how many film directors get shot during an interview and just, yes, that happens. And he just continues doing the interview. Yeah. So I'm not overly precious about the marks I'm making. And then we're going to come in a moment with the white. We're going to chop at some of this again. What's that? Gary said that's a pretty, might be masterclass. Maybe it was a master. I think it was a masterclass. Gary says that's a pretty solid Herzog. If you want, I can talk as Werner Herzog for the rest of this thing. Skillshare episodes are shorter. Don't be afraid to use the blue. I know. I was gleeful when I heard that Werner Herzog was going to be in Star Wars. There's a part of me that was just, what can it be? Yeah. There's certain individuals that they change the game, you know, just in being who they are. And he's one of those people that I could care less. You know, I've learned about his films and watched his films eventually. But when I first discovered Werner Herzog, I could care less about his films, and I was far more interested in just that persona. You know, that Werner Herzog. You know, so just throwing down some hits again and chasing values through the image and seeing how that brings our composition together. Yes, indeed, Gary, fantastic last night. That was really great. You said nothing but conspiracy theories. No, you didn't. You were really good. It was really well done. Did you do it? I think you need to make your alien head into a microphone. That'd be perfect. So, yeah, I really enjoyed last night's talk about reference. Like I was saying earlier, I don't know if you were here at the time, Gary, or maybe you're not here now, but I use reference at the start and then I put it away. Once you get the gist of what you're trying to put down, then I think it's important that we pursue it individually. That's just me. So I saw the first half of last night. I got to see the second half. I heard in the second half that Gary busts into some lounge singing, so I'm really excited for that. Yeah. All right. So, So this is fun. This is another fun thing I like to do because you get the edges of the tape. What do we say? Same. I'm looking at reference. Is what's essentially the pencil stage. Set it aside. Go from there. You can reference in what's essentially the pencil stage, but then set it aside and go from there. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I completely concur with that one. That's a great way to go about it, because then you're not lockstepped into having to conform to the source that you're working from. Where did I put the orange? Orange. Oh, orange. I have my tray, my pencil trays, just down below the side of my desk. So I'll reach down thinking I'm grabbing a color and bring it up, and that's a wrong color, and I don't care. I'll use it anyways. That's another criticism. All of Chris's weird habits. All right. I don't know why I still have this on. Okay, so where did I put that? Yeah, I'm really excited. I got some exciting news for anybody that's here right now. I made a little thing for it. Hold on a second. This is my big exciting news. And that is that I'm going to do an evening live stream next Tuesday night with Mr. Jim Lujan, and we are going to talk art. So that's very exciting. 9 p.m. EST, 6 p.m. PST, which would be 7 p.m. MST. So, anybody that's able to, come on out, hang out. Let's have some fun. It's I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really impressed by Jim's work. So it's why I went about the Depeche Mode page the way I did, is that in honor of the suggestion coming from Jim, I put it together as though I were setting it up for an animation. I don't know how to animate, and I'm not going to learn how to animate when I'm talking to Jim, but it's just sympathetic magic, folks. Sympathetic magic. So just throwing down some values in the face and pushing and pulling that around a little bit, and defining some more shapes into the overall image. What if I missed a lot? I'm so sorry. Red bubble mug. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, please let everybody that you know he's really great. Gary will be there. Great. And BDD says fun. Jim's an impressive guy. He exudes manly energy. He knows you said that. And he's funny too. Nice. Yeah. It was getting a little too hot and heavy for me last night when Jim was making comments about his love for Gary while he was driving. I was worried about a road accident personally. All right. Well, yeah, I'm really interested in the Skillshare notion. I'm going to have to explore that. Who knows? Maybe that's kind of, here's the thing. And it's, hey, let's get real for a moment. I don't know what I'm doing on YouTube, because if if my objective was to make money on, to get some sort of supportive income through doing videos, maybe I should stop giving up the ghost on how I do things. And like I think maybe Dee Dee's suggestion is alluding towards, figure out how to do that where it's monetized. You know, like with my millions of followers that I have now. And but I'm just kind of doing it anyways. Or maybe I need to think more about some other objective way. But I'm doing different illustrations for people and book, book work for different publishers. But when I come on YouTube, I'm just doing this and without any real objective value. I'm sorry, any real clear objective of value, I guess. So maybe that's something I need to think more clearly about. But I'm kind of having fun. I hope you guys are having fun too. It's not something that I think about a lot, but maybe it's something I need to think more about. But I'm open to going on people's different things and chatting with them there and talking about what we do, or if anybody wants do a doodle together on live whatnot, and I'm cool down with that. I'm down with anything at this point, but I'm not coming at it from an objective of some kind of income from it right now. What is can be yourself? Watch a Skillshare class on a topic that interests you. It would probably be something really dorky. Enrique said he makes decent money making classes there. I heard Enrique talk on Phil's channel about the 100 he makes here and the 200 he makes there and the 100 he makes there and the 100 makes there. And I was really intrigued by all that. I couldn't remember a single thing that he said, though. Make more money on Skillshare than YouTube. I don't make any money on YouTube, is my point. So $1 is $1 more than here. But again, it's not necessarily been in any way, shape, or form an objective to me. So it's that's what I'm saying. It's just something I hadn't really considered. But maybe I need to wisen up a little bit. So I'm throwing down this gesso and working it with the pencil and blending out this background. Like a push focus, you blend it out, and because you've softened out the background, it tends to make the crisper, cleaner lines really stand up better. Yeah. I also like Domestika. So hold on, I'll pull that up for a second. I also like Domestika. Most are in Spanish with subtitles, but I don't mind reading subtitles. Oh, I hear you. The television that I watch tends to be in other languages. It's a strange paradigm right now in our household, but my favorite shows at the moment are one's Korean, one's Icelandic, and one's German. So none of them are in English. What's funny is with all three of those societies and their film approach is that each one of them will have somebody say something cool in English. But in those different places, that means you're cool. So, all right, this is good. So, I had a page idea I was supposed to be working on today. I had it wrote down somewhere. You earned this is the page idea for today. Yeah, well, I'll incorporate this in. So, okay. So I don't know how this is going to come together, but let's try. Yeah. Grease pencil. I wasn't quite dry yet. Whoops. And sharpen a couple of lines with this old sucker. This was awesome. Have a good week. Have a good weekend, guys. We'll watch for your YT, Gary. Right on. Yeah, Gary, you do yours on Saturday. Take care, Dee Dee. Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for the advice, by the way. The worst thing in the world is trying to, well, it's not the worst thing in the world, but when you try to peel the paper on these pencils, it's, nightmare fuel. But they put down such a nice, sharp, and punchy white line. Just good hits. Yeah. Well, I'm going to probably work on this. This is a panel. So the idea for this page is, let me write it down. The idea for the page is you've earned this. And so this is my start to play on that, so that this initial panel is going to be looking for a sharp thing, because I don't have sharp things. Like a shark. Anyways, so the idea here is that with this initial panel, so here's my notion that I'm conceiving as I'm working, is that this is the person winning their pageant. This is the person that's winning their roses, and you've earned this. And then I get to take that dialogue and example it further. And I'm going to do it silly, because that's how I do. Silly and not silly, clearly sarcastic. Trying to figure out what the tone of my work is. How do you describe the tone of your work? I was asked that 2 days ago, and it has baffled me, because the term ridiculous was not acceptable. So tone of your work, ridiculous. Actually, I believe I said redonkulous. Okay, so sorry, I'm just peeling the paper back on this pencil to give me a little more mark making surface to use. I've done a terribly poor job of it, but we got something. So, all right, nice hit of value in here as I more clearly define the cigar, and a little bit of texture in that. Yeah, oh, happy day. Yeah, so this is going to be our pageant winner who's earned their award, who's earned their flowers, the laurel leaves here. Just putting a couple little more hits of tone in here. I should pull this face around. But, yeah, I think I'll finish this sucker off and scribble and doodle some more things around as as I'm working out this composition to post it. But I'm going to put up a promotion this weekend to promote the talk on Tuesday night. But anybody that is watching this or does watch this, please tell your friends. Please come on out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. He's a very talented guy, and he's very Gary calls him macho. He's very manly. No, manly. It wasn't macho. It was manly. So that's good. I'll do my best to be manly as well. Perhaps I don't know what manly is. I'm an artsy fartsy guy. We tend to be far removed from manly. But I'll try to spit on the floor, whatever that is. Whatever they do. Send ideas what manly is. I'll do my best. But I'm looking forward to it anyhow. As silly as I'm being, I'm really looking forward to sitting down and chatting with Jim about his processes and what he does and how he goes about putting together his work and where he's going with that and where he's gone to get there. And yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. I got all kinds of ideas. And hopefully, Jim's keen too. You always worry about talking with somebody that you don't, that you haven't really talked to before. It's going to turn into a Lou Reed interview. Look up Lou Reed interviews, by the way, if you wonder what that reference is for. Lou Reed is not an easy interview. All right, so here's putting some more value and tone and dimension into the scale's face and playing with color, just pure shock-and-awe color and having some fun. But yeah, this is going to work as you've earned this, and so I'm probably going to cut this frame really tight. I'm probably going to cut it right down to here, right down through here, right down through here. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep this in because I kind of really like this spattering. But it's no clearly defined rule here for what I'm going to use out of this image, but it's going to be a panel. You've earned this. Celebrate yourself. You did it. But it's been a lot of fun building up all of this surface, all these marks, all this energy into this image to find this picture in here and to see where it's going to take us. And that's the sort of thing that I really get charged out of the process with, is that the affordance of being able to do that and not having to do it by any pre-established prefab set of rules of, well, you can't use that with this and you shouldn't go about doing that way. But here I go, and following that objective of just trying to just trying to play with images to the best of my ability and able to put together that narrative that I'm trying to find for the story of this one-page image. Playing with all these values together, not actively seeking the finished result, but chasing it down, Is it rather unstructured compared to other pages? Very much so. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with finding the image along the way, along the journey. That journey for me is perhaps such an important part of it all. But thanks anybody that's come out and watched this along the way. This the sort of stuff that really helps me feel connected to the world. Just knowing that it makes all the children laugh. I feel just in Gary's honor, I think I'll do one of these as Werner Herzog. I'll do that for Gary at some point. I'll just do an entire talk. And now we're going to lay down the color brown. I like the color brown because it makes me feel like the malaise of life is something that we can try to transpire over top of. All right. Well, yeah, it's going to be a fun page. I could tell right now. But I better wrap this one up because at a certain point, you got to walk away. Just walk away before you make a mess out of your own image. So it's a very, very real thing to do. But here's me drawing my flowers. Hey, you got to draw some flowers every now and then. You know what I mean? Agabish. All right. Oh, happy day. Good. What time am I at? 1:42. A couple more minutes, and then I'll wrap it up. Just been working my way towards this tone. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That starts to really give a shape. Starting to get some shape into the face now, and that's objectively what I've been trying to get towards here. It's funny, you just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. There we go. Okay, well, I think at this point, I might step away. This is the first panel of You Earn This. So this will be the page that I'll have posted for tomorrow. I'm going to play with some more drawings. I put all of the process stuff along the way, like whatever the source images are and things like that, or black and white pages from black and white drawn images for people to color themselves. I do all that on my Patreon, which is under my name, Christopher Runciman. But I'm trying to think about at this point to engage, how I can engage further with people. Judy had some fun ideas today, so that was very appreciated and helpful. And Corbin has shown up to say, hey, about time to wrap it up there, don't you think? It's helpful like that. Yeah, okay. It's been fun. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to sign off. So thanks everybody for watching things. If I can put one more reminder up of next Tuesday night, 9 o'clock in the evening. For those that aren't able to get out during the daytime, I'll be talking with Jim Luan, and we'll be talking about art. And it'll be right here on my streaming thing. And at the same time, I'll be back Tuesday or Monday morning because I think it's Friday. Boy, oh boy. It's Friday. Just checked. So, yeah, I'll be posting this page tomorrow. But for sure, I'll be back at 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon for the next stream. But in the meantime, have a good weekend. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you keep creating. Bye for now. Thanks everybody that came out.